Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video here on Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, your host for this one. I'm joined once again by Luke Payton and Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. We are going to run through all of the action that's coming up in the latest weekend of league action in the GAA. Of course, it's only 8 weeks, so the championship kicks off, lads. But Matthew, I'll start with you first. We're in the thick of the action with the Allianz Leagues. Craziest stat to me is that if you go to Division 3, there's actually still 3 teams that after round 4 could still be on 0 points. That would be surely a first for the Allianz Leagues across the board. But big weekend for your home county as well. Big weekend for Cork. Obviously, that tie coming up for them. Big weekend for Kildare. Big weekend for Roscommon, Monaghan. Big weekends across the board.
It is definitely. Thanks for having me on, lads. Yeah, it's a big weekend for many teams, as you mentioned in there in Division 3, with 3 teams on 0 points. Like I was thinking to myself, will I do a stat on that? Because I don't think I've ever seen it myself. And how many teams that have been on 0 points after round 3 have stayed up? I'm actually not sure. Obviously, Offaly, if there is a stranglehold to be broken there, Offaly, Wicklow or Limerick will do that this year. That's just uncharted circumstances. But for Kildare and Cork especially, it's a big weekend. It really is. And for the hurling, yeah, big weekend for the Cork hurlers as well, just to get back over the winning pedestal in many ways against the Waterford side that's underachieved over the last few seasons. So yeah, big weekend of GA, a lot of action to get through, and looking forward to talking about it.
That's it. And Luke, as a dub, this Saturday, massive weekend for Dublin. I mean, on the Saturday, both the game against Limerick at 5:15 and then against Kerry at 7:30 at Croke Park. I mean, it's a big weekend for the Dubs.
Yeah, look, first of all, as everyone could probably tell, serious camera issues up here today. But power can do it anyway. It's more about, I suppose, I'll try and say something interesting to compensate. But yeah, no, look, I'll be going into that anyway myself. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Dublin, Kerry and Croke Park. I don't think there's a whole lot riding on it, to be honest. Like, that's the other thing, is that I think some people are saying, like, Dublin probably relegation trouble if they lose it, but I think they'll be fine. I think it's just good to see it as well. But like, I think there's going to be bigger games. There's going to be bigger games at the weekends. That's the glamour tie of the weekend. But I think there's going to be, down in Division 2, Division 3, those games at the weekend, they're really, really grudge games. Nearly about halfway through the league, that's really when we're going to start to see who's playing and what. And then, yeah, like Matthew was saying, the hurling's kind of interesting too. I think that Waterford-Cork game is nearly a relegation game already. Nearly, you could say that. I know it'll come down to the other 4th place team in the other group, but there is a bit of a feeling of it. Whoever loses that game could be playing Division 1B next year, which is actually a bit of a calamity for both teams, as they both need. They both are trying to develop, and I think next year the idea of them playing 1B would be terrible situation for them both.
Yeah, no, I do agree. We have a comment in here from Zeal. I hope I'm saying that right. He said, "The Kingdom Revenge, greetings from Mexico." Absolutely, greetings to you too, sir. Deadly that you're watching from Mexico, and deadly that you're keeping an eye on the games this weekend as well. But yeah, hopefully we entertain. And if anybody else is listening, get your comments in, get your opinions in. Let us know what you make of these games. So we have the Allianz Football Leagues Division 1. Round 4 is happening this weekend. And before we dive into these games, let's remind ourselves of how things stand as of right now. So as you can see, Derry flown ahead. 3 wins out of 3. Kerry, Mayo tied for 2 wins out of 3 games. Obviously, after Kerry beat Mayo, they're above them on the head-to-head. Galway really pulled themselves out of the fire by beating Tyrone for the time being. Dublin and Tyrone there as well. 5th and 6th with 1 win each. The same thing with Monaghan there as well. And then bottom of the table, I'll just get rid of that so you can see Roscommon there with 1 point out of a possible 6. And they're the only team in Division 1 that have not yet won a game. So their game coming up is absolutely massive. And we'll start with the first one, which is, I mean, the one that everybody's going to be keeping an eye on, isn't it? Dublin against Kerry on the Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in Croke Park. Matthew, I'll go to the neutral first because people will be sick of hearing the Dubs talk about this game. Dublin against Kerry, Croke Park. What do you make of this game?
To be honest, it's a welcome welcome to watch this for me, to be honest, because even watching on Saturday, going back to the Cork and Cavan game, I was thinking, why am I watching this even? Cork losing. Then I watch Kerry and Mayo, I'm thinking, this is quality football. I absolutely love watching this. It is an incredible game, and this will be no bit different, absolutely. Interesting, actually, I was on the JMAC podcast earlier this week with Kevin McGorty was on as well, and he was saying that Dublin are by far and away the best team in the country at the moment, and Kerry are stagnating a bit because of the likes of David Clifford, Paulie Clifford, and Sean O'Shea being basically a three-man team for Kerry. So do I agree with Kevin there? Probably not. I still think Kerry are a very good team. I think the forward line in particular, with Paulie putting the ball into Sean O'Shea and laying it off to Clifford, I think that's a frightening aspect for the rest of the country. Killian Burke is a good player as a wing forward, and then you look at centre forwards with Dylan Gainey is very good as well. Dar Moynihan is doing his bits in the forward line, so it's not just the three boys that are doing it. And then when you look at midfield, Joe O'Connor, Jordan O'Connor are building up a brilliant partnership there. And the fact that Tyke Morley got minutes into his legs the last day, I think that would stem Kerry really, really well. For Dublin, look, it was a good win the last day against Roscommon. And the thing is as well, I'm doing scores of the Allianz League. I think Dublin have I think it's about 16 different scores in the Allianz League so far, and they've used a lot of players. So that's a positive for Desi Farrell, I'd imagine, and that's not even including the likes of Brian Howard, James McCarthy, Stephen Cluxton, all to come back into the team, I'd imagine. So Theo Clancy getting his bout at full back the last day as well. So I think there's a positive for both sides. The fact that Dublin are playing these players and the fact that Kerry are building up a partnership between the three lads, almost like a triangle. So it'll be interesting to see dynamics of this game on Saturday.
Certainly will. And I mean, like Luke, Matthew made a great point there talking about Theo Clancy. He was the one that me and you picked as the top dub anyway to watch breaking into the team. We put him at number 2 in our list of players to watch before the 2024 season. He has got minutes into his belt. He's got 2 games back-to-back starting in the full back line for Dublin. What have you made of him? And then what have you made of Dublin so far? Started off with 2 defeats, but then rallied to beat Roscommon last weekend in a good performance. Not exactly shooting the lights out, not exactly thrilling entertainment, but a good performance and a good win.
Yeah, well, look, I think the Theo Clancy one was an easy one to kind of predict that he'd be playing, because when you look at it, you've seen like players come through the whole time. Dublin haven't really had an unbelievable underage player, you can nearly say, since maybe the Con Howard era and stuff like that. A player that's just come in and has been like a guaranteed. You could maybe argue to a lesser extent Gannon, but like you kind of knew with Clancy that he had that kind of all-star potential, and he had that the whole way through, and he was featured in teams of the years. And look, he's started very well. Like he did a good job in Aidan O'Shea the last day out, but like will remain to be seen when Aidan O'Shea is Aidan O'Shea is like probably bread and butter to Theo Clancy. That's what he likes. He likes that style forward. Whether he has to be tested now on a quicker forward, somebody that doesn't have the size. We know what he can do with players with size, but like that's the thing. He'll see it now. It'll be a different type of test from against Kerry. He'll be playing more against speed, more against probably more natural skill at the weekend now as well. So that, look, it really will give us a good indication whether he's ready for championship or not. Dublin on the whole, like Dublin they're clearly still miles off where they probably will be. They will be in a couple of months' time. They don't really seem too pushed about that, but yeah, like I think the Roscommon game was a lot of improvements. There was a lot more urgency in it as well. Kilkenny finally moved the ball quickly, and Con was inside as well. Something that I think Dublin fans have been looking for a long time. A lot less lateral passing, and yeah, no, look, ultimately, I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be tight at the weekend. I'd be leaning towards a draw, and if I had to go one, maybe a bit of Clifford magic again to edge it by Kerry. But like to touch on what Matty was saying, I thought it was funny last week. I think I saw a tweet after the game saying that Kerry would be unbelievable if they found 13 more players. But I think it's it's just a bit of crack that, because obviously, look, Kerry and Dublin, they're going to be the 2 favourites anyway. And look, they're blessed. Like, it is the best. I honestly believe about the best player of all time in their team. And look, any chance to see him playing in Dublin and Croke Park under the lights now at the weekend, like, who could possibly turn that down when it's on your doorstep? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's the greatest player, well, like I've ever seen, like at his absolute peak. I've never seen a player been like that and been like, wow, like nobody can get near him. David Clifford's performance against Derry in the All Ireland semi-final last year was just out of this world good. Matthew, one thing that I would like to bring to you now is me and you talked in the first game of the season, the first week of the season. We spoke in depth about Seanie O'Shea being moved to full forward, and you highlighted it right out of the gate. Seanie then has remained there, even though David Clifford has returned to the side. And then you look at this. Dublin have lost David Byrne. He's gone travelling. Michael Fitzsimons is in the twilight of his career now. Johnny Cooper's gone. Like, Philly's gone. Like, all these players that were there over the last 3, 4, 5 years, they're gone now. Dublin's least experienced line now, by far, is their full back line. And you wonder, with potentially one eye on meeting Dublin down the line, are Kerry trying to move Seanie into the full forward line alongside David to strike at the heart of where Dublin could be vulnerable, potentially, because it might catch Theo a bit too soon, and there might not be someone else to mark Sean O'Shea, etc. And then the next question to follow on to it is, who does mark David Clifford? Who does mark Sean O'Shea?
I think the first question was easy enough to answer, but the second question is very, very hard to answer. And the first, I think Kerry were honestly planning this for the rest of the championship, because this is a different dimension to Kerry now. Like, they had, like, when they won the All Ireland in 2014, the main probably danger for Kerry was James O'Donoghue or somebody outside the lines putting the ball into Kieran Star Donaghy, and he'd finish into the back of the net. I think they'll do the same with Sean O'Shea this time out. I think the fact that Dylan Gainey can play centre forward is boosting Kerry, no doubt about it. And Killian Burke is doing very well able at wing forward as well. So I think, honestly, Kerry were going to do this regardless of Dublin, to be honest, with their full backline issues. I think Kerry want to go in a different direction. Jack O'Connor wants the same. I just think Kerry are going down that route now. As for the second question on David Clifford, sorry lads, I have a bit of a cold.
No,
it's a tough
Luke's
one.
recording at the Sun anyway as well, so I have some interesting. But yeah, no. On your point of who marks, like I was discussing this with Aaron. The conclusion we came to is we could see it being potentially that Theo marks Seanie O'Shea and Sean McMahon marks David Clifford, because Sean McMahon actually picked him up for a bit of the All Ireland final last year.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know though. Sean McMahon seems a bit too. I know he's had 2-3 years under his belt, to be fair to him, but maybe a bit inexperienced at this level to mark the likes of David Clifford. I'm not sure.
I would agree with you. And this is the next thing that I'm coming back to with it, is that David Clifford has a bone to pick with Dublin in Croke Park in a big game. Like, a lot of people took aim at him last year for not performing to his best in the final. Like, he's a man on a mission.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. But at the same time, would you consider this as a big game?
So, yeah, of course. Dublin Kerry's always a big game. If they had a coin toss, it'd be a big game. The rivalry sells it in itself. Like, when people talk about shadow boxing, will there be shadow boxing to some degree here? Yes. Like, they're not going to play their main card. They're not going to play their ace card of like a tactical move or a tactical decision or anything like that would give the game away before they play each other in the championship. They would be thinking. But if you think that any of those 15 lads in the pitch are going to take a step back, you're highly, highly mistaken. Dublin against Kerry, there's no team that Dublin want to beat more than Kerry, and there's no team that Kerry want to beat more than Dublin, especially in Croke Park. So I think, especially with all the criticism that was lobbed at him, like, look at the comment in here, like, remember this, smoked according to Paul Flynn. Like, he's got business to settle with Dublin. And to be completely honest, lads, I'm just going to come out and say it. Maybe it's my head overruling my heart, but I do think Kerry will nick this one. And I think David Clifford will be very, very central in that win.
Yeah. Look, I don't think Dublin are going to have a plan weekend. I don't think they're going to do anything special about them. Like, I think they just happens every year in the league that Dublin don't show anything. Like, because look, the reality is like Last weekend, Michael Simons played for Coola against Kilmacud in AFL 1 and played very, very well for Coola. He's still their best man marker, and we know deep down when it comes down to the summer later on, Fitzsimons will pick him up again, and Fitzsimons, it'll be the same situation. Clifford might score 5 or 6, and Fitzsimons will do as good a job as anyone's able to do on him. And like, I think Dublin know it's not fixed. I think you'll see it the weekend. Maybe it will be Sean McMahon. I'd be surprised if they put Sean McMahon on because, like, I don't even think it's fair to McMahon because but in reality, he's a halfback and he's better suited out the field. Arguably for Raheny, he's a midfielder. You can nearly say so. I think it'll be one of King Murphy, maybe Theo Clancy, and somebody along those lines. Obviously, it's not going to be Merchant. I'd be shocked if it's Gannon as well, but they'll put one of them on it. It's going to be a mismatch no matter what. I think Dublin know it's going to be a mismatch. Maybe it's today. Just give it to Clancy and just here you go. You're going in with the ultimate test, and you're just going to learn from this as well. To be honest, that's what I do. I just say to Theo Clancy, look, we're backing you this year, and we're putting you on the biggest task in football. Get him starting, getting used to it because he's going to be doing it plenty then in the future.
Well, that's it. I mean, there is no bigger test for him than to face David Clifford, and a very, very motivated David Clifford with a score to settle. Decision time, lads. I've made my pick. Matthew, you going Kerry or Dublin?
I'm going to go for Kerry by about 2 or 3 points. I think Clifford, again, has a bone to pick. He has the onus on his side. I think he's going to run right in this Dublin team, and especially with the names that you mentioned in the full back when they're missing. I think this could be a game where David Clifford absolutely runs riot. So I'm going to go for Kerry to win this game, but don't expect just Clifford to carry the score. I think Sean O'Shea would nick a goal, maybe a point or two as well.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And Paddy Clifford is always a threat as well. I do think Paddy will probably be picked up by Lee Gannon. I think that's probably the matchup, maybe on Merchant either. But I do agree with you. Luke, is it a sweep for Kerry in this one, or are you going to back Dublin?
I'm gonna go draw. I'll go cop out. If I had to pick, I'd probably say Kerry by a point, but I'll go draw. I think Dublin and Croke Park, they might rally late and sneak a draw out.
Yeah, no, that is a fair decision. And look, I could see it being like the 2020 game between Dublin and Kerry, where both sides get a late point and it ends in a draw, and we have a bit of fisticuffs at the end of the game to get the appetite going for the next clash between the two teams. Now, that game is always going to grab the attention, no question about it. This game is very, very important for both of these teams as well. Tyrone against Mayo, that's on the Saturday as well. Chosen at 5:15, it's in Healy Park. If Tyrone win this one, it's a major step towards potential survival. If Mayo win this one, they're back on track for a potential league final appearance, especially if the likes of Dublin lose and etc., or if Kerry lose, that Mayo could spur themselves on to a potential league final appearance. But either way, it's a big game for both sides, Matthew.
It is massive, and especially with Tyrone losing the last day against Galway, that was a big loss to get. I know they were close at the end, a point at the end, but yeah, it was just a weird performance by Tyrone. Like, they were decent enough in the first half. Then in the second half, they could see that goal from Carl Sweeney, and they just fall apart really. But at the same time, though, you could argue if Dark Hannivan stayed on the pitch for the last 10 minutes, Tyrone would have won that game. So it's crucial that he stays on. He's the main guy. Like, even he got 4 shots off the last day against Galway, converted 3 of them. Like, he's a very, very good player, Dark Hannivan. And then you look at the other aspect, Con Kilpatrick at centre forward. Would I play him there in future games? Probably not, no. Yeah. It'll be interesting if Tyrone play Con Kilpatrick at centre forward again for this game. It'll be interesting to see how he does get on. Brian Kennedy midfield as well. Peter Hart, if he starts. So, and Noel Morgan, obviously the marauding goalkeeper, like, he was brilliant the last day. And if he produced another good performance, Mayo would find it hard to get past them. And Mayo have started well. They have really, like, even the game against Kerry, there was a few bits of negative vibes around Mayo in terms of the media after the game. But I tend to differ. I think Mayo, there was a lot of positives. The fact they went down to 14 men, the fact they went back into the game against a decent Kerry side, down Tralee, let's not forget. So I think Mayo, there is a lot of positives going into this game. The fact they've won 2 games, the fact they put it up to Kerry, and they have players off the bench that can offer something different as well. You look at Darren McHale, you look at Cillian O'Connor. Cillian O'Connor in particular, I think he's a massive leader to have on the bench there. You've Ryan O'Donoghue in very good form. I think Fergal Boland in the form of his life in the league. So I do think, Mayo, there's a lot of positives to go forward for Kevin McStay's side. It will be interesting to see how this game shapes up to be. But having looked at this, I think the last time these two sides faced each other in Healy Park, I think Tyrone won that game by a point or two. So I think in 2022 that was. So it will be interesting to see if there's a bite back in Tyrone. But I do feel, and I will say this confidently, if Tyrone lose this game, I think they're down, James. So yeah, it's a crucial one for them.
I agree. I think whoever loses this is down. No, sorry. I think if Tyrone loses, they're down. Mayo are fine. Like Mayo will pick up points in games left in the Allianz League, no question about it. Apologies for that. Luke, when we were talking about it, it's no doubt it's still a banana skin for Mayo to go to Healy Park. Tyrone could have their bite back after the defeat to Galway. They did beat Roscommon in Healy Park, and Roscommon always give Mayo a good game no matter what the circumstances are. But for Mayo to have watched Galway go away to Tyrone without Shane Walsh, without Damien Coma, and still come away with the win, and Mayo in the form that they are in, they'll be fairly confident that they can get a result out of this one.
Yeah, no, look, I think so. And to be honest, that caught me by surprise last week, that result up in Tyrone. Like, I really thought that was going to be Tyrone would have, I think, because Galway look vulnerable right now. They do look vulnerable right now. And they were down to players. They looked like a team that Tyrone should have been going out to beat, that they should have been putting out a statement, that they should have been looking to firmly put themselves in kind of in safety kind of position, and they haven't. And looking, they're going in now. They're probably facing one of the form sides in the league. You could argue, look, that Kerry Mayo game, look, it was a coin toss at the end. It really was a coin toss at the end. People can be critical afterwards, but you lose literally last kick of a game in Tralee where nobody ever seems to get a result. Like I think that I don't think there's a whole lot of negativity to have around Mayo really at the moment. So yeah, no, look, I think these games though they often tend to end up being one-score games, and that like it's the thing with Division 1. Like, form can kind of go out the window. Teams are going to set up; they're going to make themselves hard to beat, and it will become a one-score game. But I do think, look, I think Tyrone need a win, but I don't really see how he can pick them right now based on form or anything like that. They'd have to come out and show us something completely different to what we've seen the last little while. But like, no one, like, that's the thing. At this stage of the year, when teams have their backs against the wall, teams with different priorities, maybe Mayo are already thinking that they are probably safe, and then Tyrone is saying, "Oh, look, we need a win here," and then the performance levels differ. But like, if it goes based off form, look, you'd have to say Mayo will probably go up there, even despite it being in Omagh and all that.
Yeah, no, I do think that, and pronouncing Omagh as Omagh, that's a new one for the books. Half Tyrone, half Armagh. But
I've said all my life. I've said Omagh all my life, and I'm not changed.
Yeah, no, anyway, decision time, lads. Predictions and why. I'll start. I'll go with Mayo. Sticking with what I did predict for the league table. I predicted Tyrone to go down, and this is the type of game that they would lose if they are to go down. So I am going to stay faithful to my first predictions. I think Mayo will be keen to bounce back after the defeat to Kerry last week. Not let it, build into a negativity surrounding the county team, and they'll need to win this one, and I think that they will. I think Mayo will win this by about 2 points. Luke, are you going Mayo or Tyrone?
Yeah, Mayo by 3.
Mayo by 3. Matthew?
Gonna go Mayo by 1.
Okay, a sweep for Mayo. So this one, I wonder, will it be a sweep again? Galway against Derry on Sunday at 1:45 in Pearse Stadium. Now, if this game was played last week, I would have said Derry hands down. Galway winning away in Tyrone, and the battling spirit that they showed to grind out that result. Matthew, does that change this perspective on this game at all?
I think it does to a certain extent, and the way Galway performed the last day, I think it was just a weird enough performance. Like, even when you look at their shot conversion rate for play, it was 75%. But then when you look at it for frees, it was 33%. So that probably suggests to me that they need Shane Walsh on the pitch to take frees. Rob Finnerty has been good over the last 2 seasons, but he's not a good free taker as such. Matthew Tierney's the same. Probably didn't have his best day the last day against Tyrone. They have Colin Sweeney. They have goal getters in the team. Killian O'Corrine didn't show his form now the last day, but I know he's capable of better in games. But I will say Galway, if they're going to miss Coburn, Walsh is going to be big because they're missing Conroy already. That looks like a horrid injury. He came off at halftime against Tyrone, and like it's a difficult one to predict in many ways because if Shane Walsh plays, I'd fancy Galway to take it, but if he doesn't, I'd fancy Derry because Derry are performing brilliantly at the moment. I know it's in Pearse Stadium. You have Conor Glass in midfield. You have Brendan Rodgers, you have Emmett Bradley to come in, you have Corbett Murphy coming off the bench and doing wonders, Shane McGuigan scoring 11 points the last day, probably one of the most underrated forwards in the country. You have Chrissy McCaig at the back line, Owen McAvoy, or Lynch doing well, and even Ryan Scullion coming into the team as well, which will breed confidence in the whole Derry panel that Mickey Hart does believe in every single one of the players, which hasn't been probably the case for Derry in previous seasons. So I think Derry are going on really nicely, but it's kind of a cop-out to say, like, it does depend on the team selection. If Walsh is there, I think Galway have a chance. If he's not there, I think Derry might really, in many ways, I think they might coast home this game.
Yeah, interesting take. Luke, the same question to you that I asked to Matthew. Do you think that the Galway victory over Tyrone last week, do you think that changes anything? Obviously, Tyrone, like, that was a difficult away day. Do you think that changes anything?
No, I don't think so. I think Derry are going to be quite heavy favourites. Like, to be honest, look, they look like they're training for the Olympics right now. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy that the level that they're at. They're so far ahead of anyone right now. Like, I have my own take on that where I don't fully buy into it. I think that the level they're at, and yeah, they might have experimented a little bit more lately, but like they're still very dependent on the same players. Like I just don't see now if he's fit. Conor Glass will be picked for every single game this season, and it's going to be the same for Ethan Doherty. It's going to be the same for Shane McGuigan. It's going to be the same for absolutely everyone. I just think it's madness. I think it's absolute madness. And like if they're performing great at this level at this stage now. Like there was a lot of talk last year that maybe in the semi-final that their levels were still good in the semi-final, and they managed to last a year from it there. But I still think they dropped off in that second half in the All-Ireland semi-final last year, that they couldn't live with Kerry's fitness levels in the second half. I don't see how they can do that 2 years in a row now, because there still hasn't been a gap as well there too. I think they're going to be absolutely brilliant at the weekend. I think they're going to beat Galway quite comfortably, but I think it's a mistake. I really think that like we see this in both codes. Like we see like Dublin last year didn't do a tick until I'd say like it's hard to even know when they even started doing anything. Probably into the Leinster Championship when they only started clicking into gear. You look at Limerick every year as well. I know they won the league, but they won it with essentially backup players. This year, half the team aren't even back in the squad training yet as well. Like it's like until I see evidence otherwise, I just don't see what Derry are doing right now. But like I think if you look at previous All-Ireland winners, like yeah, I just don't believe in peaking this early, this soon. I think they'll be brilliant again at the weekend. I think they're playing great stuff. They probably have a great chance of winning this league. But like, yeah, I would worry about the long term.
Well, that's it. And like, look, this reminds me a lot of, say, Jim McGuinness's first year with Donegal, because one of the things that's not talked about with Jim McGuinness's Donegal, and I'm not hating, this is just a fact, is that Donegal in 2013 crashed and burned. The amount of injuries that they picked up, the amount of players that, needed rests, that didn't really get rests because they were ran into the ground in 2011 and 2012. And look, it resulted in the All-Ireland, so you can't really argue with it. But the reality is they got absolutely stuffed in the All-Ireland quarter-final by Mayo. And on that same weekend, Sean Kavanagh did his tackle on Conor McManus. Joe Brolly goes on the rant. That's all anybody's talking about from that weekend. Nobody's talking then about how Mayo have just absolutely annihilated the All-Ireland champions and kicked them out of the championship. Everyone's talking about Brolly's comments on Sean Kavanagh. And look, the same thing could be here with Derry. That like because Mickey is pushing them to such a level that they've never been at before in terms of their commitment, their work rate, their activity, like how many games they're playing. Matthew, this does feel to me like they kind of have to win the All-Ireland in the next year or two, or they never will, in my opinion, because I think similar to Donegal 2013, where they just ran out of energy and ended up getting knocked out by Mayo quite easily. If Derry don't capitalise on this, that gassing out, that has to come at some point.
It is very true, yeah. And I remember that Donegal weekend in many ways, and even in the round 4 qualifier before that, Seamus, people were tipping Laois to beat them, and that was a Laois team that struggled in that season in particular, and they were always tipping Laois to beat Donegal because of how tired Donegal were at that time. So it does happen to teams. But what I will say, if Derry win the All-Ireland, I don't think Mickey Hart or the players would give a jot if they're playing. That's the thing. But they have to do it. They have to win the All-Ireland. Do I think they'll do it this year? Probably not. I think Kerry are better than them at this particular moment with the 3 lads up front. Do I think next year's a possibility? Absolutely. With the way they're going at the moment, the effort they're putting in, the squad they're building, I think next year's definitely a possibility. And the fact, if they go and win 3 Ulsters in a row, it'll put even more pressure on them to go on and win the All-Ireland. And it looks that way at the moment. So, yeah, I think they'd have to win an All-Ireland, but like if they win that All-Ireland eventually, I don't think they'll give a jot what any 3 of us were saying about them playing players in the league. I think, they'll win the All-Ireland, and they won't care what anyone says.
Yeah, no, well said, and it's a good point. Luke, I take it you're going for a Derry win then?
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, no, I'll be going Derry win, and I'd say Derry by, I think Derry by about maybe 5 or 6, and but they won't win the All-Ireland.
Interesting. Matthew, I assume you're going Derry as well?
I'm going to go for a rogue one. I'm going to go Galway by a point.
Ooh, I like it.
Because
the truth is, right, I said this on Aaron. Wow, that was a voice break. But the truth is, I said this on Aaron's podcast that look, the safe bet is Derry, but like if there's a banana skin, if there's like an underdog bet to make this weekend, for me it is Galway.
Yeah, there is. And the fact is, if they have a free taker on the field, it's well possible that they go on and win this game. Because you look at their shooting accuracy the last day, and I was kind of questioning watching that game against Tyrone. I know it was a dull enough game, but I was questioning, media opinions of Galway. Are they actually that bad? A lot of people would say that they're bad and things like that, but having looked at the game last Sunday, I don't think Galway are that bad. What people are making them out to be. Wait until Coburn, Walsh, Conroy, all them come back into the team, and then you'll see the real Galway later in the summer.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And look, if I were to pick, I would say this is the one to watch out for potential upset, as you would call it, because Derry, let's not forget, the last time they played Galway in the league, Galway beat them. The last time they played them in the championship, Galway annihilated them. So Galway don't fear Derry. And Derry are coming down with a lot of momentum, correct, but Galway would absolutely love to upset them with that momentum. I will go with Derry by a point. That's what I've gone with. But I think if any upset is going to happen on this weekend, it will be this one. Now, this game is probably the biggest game out of the lot in terms of the consequences for both of these teams if they lose. Roscommon versus Monaghan at Dr. Hyde Park, Sunday 1:45 p.m. I think whoever loses this game is perilously close to relegation. If Roscommon still don't have a win on the board after 4 games, Matthew, they have to be gone.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think the nail will be in the coffin this weekend. I think Monaghan will win it. They'll win it, I think. I just feel Monaghan in these situations always put the cat out of the bag and get a win. And that's what they're going to do again. I think they'll be eyeing this fixture in particular. Having looked at the next 3, I think they've Galway, Tyrone, and all them teams in the next few games. And they'll be eyeing this fixture against Roscommon. One of the easiest teams that they will play, let's be real. So I just think Monaghan will go on and win this game. And Jack McCarron's in brilliant form at the moment. I think he scored 113 in this league campaign. So he's definitely underrated in terms of star performance. You have Stephen O'Hanlon at wing forward as a decent player. You have your man Kieran McNulty in the forward line as well, who's performed well. Darren McDonald in goal. I just think in the last 2 games, in particular against Kerry and against Derry, against Kerry and Derry, I just think those are 2 sides that are on a completely different level to Monaghan. And Dublin, they beat Dublin on match 1, let's not forget. So I think Monaghan are still a very good side. Roscommon, I struggle to comprehend them sometimes. Like even the quote from David Burton out the other day, having 65 training sessions, and Aaron did the math now on Sunday, and apparently that will go back to November. So with Bridges in the club championship and things like that at the club championship ending, how is that possible? I think David Burke went over the zealous a small bit there, but look, it does show as well that he mentioned this, all the team haven't been together for 1 training session either, and that's a worry. That is a worry for Roscommon. I know Bridges have done well. I know Dara Craig's been involved in UCD for Sigerson Cup, but it is a worry that the players don't have that cohesion in many ways either. So I think it could spell relegation.
God's honest truth, Matthew. I would be sour if I was a player who'd had 65 training sessions and 4 games in, you haven't won one yet.
Yeah. like that would
be sour.
That would make the stat even more incomprehensible in many ways. And Davy Burke, I think he was just frustrated after the Dublin game and all, got on his truth about it. And I just think he just said something, mad to grab the attention for the Roscommon footballers. I just think that was the honest truth of it. But yeah, it was just weird they came out and said that.
Yeah, you wonder, like, it is that type of thing that, like, how intense are we talking for the training sessions? Because we're picturing, fitness drills and everything like that. And God help the players if they are doing that much. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think Monaghan will nick this by a point. I've learned the hard way not to bet against Monaghan. I've picked them to be relegated in 2022. Not only did they stay up, they relegated Dublin in the process of staying up. So I've very much learned the hard way to not pick against them. I will go Monaghan by 1. Look, Dara Craig is in great form. Enda Smith was brilliant at times, as always, against Dublin. Luke, is it a sweep for Monaghan, or are you going to go for a draw or a Roscommon victory, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I just to touch on it briefly, like, I agree completely. I find the interview bizarre. I think that the pressure he's put on them is pretty huge now. I don't like this whole thing like that, like, to get the headlines, but like, it's all the bad headlines. They're not the headlines I want here completely. And like 65 sessions, like, I think I did like a quick calculation from the legal time of when they were supposed to start training, and that was suggesting nearly something like 5 times a week. It was just couldn't be true. Like, so that's the thing. It looked like it was a number that pulled from his arse, but like, it was just a really strange interview, really. But like, the things I disagree about slightly is like, Monaghan, I think since Dublin have been pretty poor. Like, I think there's the obvious half where all the goals were ran in against them as well, and that they very porous defensively. And look, I think in that way, like, it's probably Monaghan is probably the obvious choice, but I think, look, I'll change it up a little bit and I'll say, look, I think both teams aren't in a great place. I don't think either of them are going to be a factor this year, really. When it comes to it, like, we know that, look, we saw Monaghan against Kerry, that they're a good bit behind Kerry. They are a good bit behind Kerry, and I think Roscommon are as well. I think they're both in trouble. I think they are both going to be facing issues when it comes down to the last day of the league. But I'll change it up a little bit and I'll go Roscommon to differ from you a little bit. But I think it'll be close again. But like, if I'm going to go Monaghan, Roscommon, I wouldn't be any more confident than a point.
Yeah, and the reality is Roscommon need to win this game. Like, it's of perilous importance that Roscommon win this game, because after this game they have Mayo, Kerry and Derry left to face. Where are you getting the points from if you don't get them from this one? And yeah, here's the joys of having 3 people in the call. We always have a majority in favor of one thing or the other, so far anyway. So by our calculations for this Division 1, what would happen with this table is Roscommon would still be bottom. Me and Matthew both went for a Monaghan victory there. So Monaghan would go up to 4 points. We picked that Mayo will go up to 6. Kerry will go up to 6 as well. Derry will go up to 8. Galway will stay on 3. Dublin will stay on 2. So by our predictions, Tyrone will be in 7th. Dublin will be in 6th. Galway will be in 5th. Monaghan will have leaped everybody into 4th place. Mayo and Kerry will be on 6 points. And Derry will be at the top on 8 points, steaming towards a league final. So that's Division 1 finished. We'll move on now to Division 2. My opinion, the best division in the league for the majority of seasons, if you're talking serious consequences for pretty much every result. And there is the table there. Makes for ugly viewing for Cork fans and Kildare fans. Armagh at the top, Donegal at the top as well. 6 points from a possible 6 for both of those counties. Cavan in 3rd place, quietly doing brilliantly under Eamon Galligan on 4 points. Fermanagh and Meath deadlocked on 3 points. Louth on 2 points, looking over their shoulders after last week's defeat to Meath. Cork and Kildare rooted to the bottom on 0 points after 3 games. So, Matthew, no better place to start. Fermanagh against Cork on Sunday in Aderney at 2 p.m. This game is absolutely huge for both counties.
It's an even more massive game for Cork, in my opinion. I think Fermanagh will be going into the game under no pressure. I think they'll go into the game thinking there's a chance to go on and win a game, because even in the next few games, they have a Cavan team they're on form. They have Armagh, a team on form, and they have, I'm trying to think, they have another team, I'd imagine, on form. They have Louth as well. So I think those are 3 games that Fermanagh wouldn't fancy their chances, whereas this game they'll definitely fancy their chances this weekend. So, like, it is a bigger game for Cork. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt Cork need to perform better than they have over the last few weeks. It hasn't been good enough from a management standpoint, as I mentioned on our channel before. From the sideline, from the pitch, it has not been good enough. Like, even Luke Fahey getting sent off the other day, John Cleary should have clocked on his head. He's making too many fouls. He should be taken off. 2nd yellow card, and he's gone. You know, and since the red card, we capitulated really against Cavan. We didn't score from playing in the second half. We were really, really poor in many aspects of the game. I think, like, we need to start thinking about it, blooding the young players into the team, the likes of Mark Cronin, the likes of David Buckley, or else we won't have a chance. Like Brian Hurley, he's done well over the last few seasons, but it's time to take a backward step now. It's time to get him on the bench, because he hasn't performed well over the last few weeks. Every time he gets in very good positions, he drops the ball short. Stephen Sherlock doesn't add much either when coming on. Ian Maguire looks tired in midfield, to be honest with you. Sean Powter needs to play as well. I just think that there's a lot of changes that needs to be made in this team. And do I think John Cleary has, the guts to make those changes? Probably not. Because after the low game against Cavan, he made one change. Rory Maguire in and Sean Meehan out. That's not, ball, in my opinion. He needs to make more changes. If it ain't working, you have to fix it. There's no doubts about that. And put it short, lads, I think Fermanagh are winning this game. I don't think we're performing well enough. I think we're going down. And I've said this on Aaron's channel, on John's channel. I am sick to death of us performing this way. And it has to change. We have to have more oomph in our play. We can't keep carrying the balls into tackles. We can't keep passing backwards when we're in the 45-metre, inside Fermanagh's 45-metre line. That has to stop. If it doesn't stop, we're going to lose this weekend. There's no doubt about that. Because as well as that, Fermanagh have more fighting than. They have some very good players performing very well. Sean Cassidy, Ulton Kelm, Ross Bogan goal is doing really, really well. So, and Kieran Donnelly's, breaking it down to a T. He's done really, really well with this team. Stephen McGullion at centre back's another cracking player. I think at home especially, I think Fermanagh are taking this game. I think they'll win this game by about 1 or 2 points, because Cork are performing terribly, and Fermanagh, there's a lot of confidence there, and it's an opportunity to get 2 points on the board and even further from safety for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an opportunity for Fermanagh. There's no question about it. A Cork team that are definitely low on the belief in themselves. Look, I've personally had this opinion about Cork over the last year now, that Cork under John Cleary, they're very, very well set up if they're playing a Mayo, or if they're playing a Roscommon, or if they're playing, somebody that's probably higher up in the rankings than them, that the onus is on that team playing against Cork to attack them, because Cork can sit in with players like Sean Powter and Rory Dean, who are like Colm O'Callaghan, Ian Maguire, that are physical players, that are scrappy, that work incredibly hard. And Cork, in those games, through sheer grit and determination, have been able to turn those teams over. But then when Cork play against, say, for example, last year, Clare, and then this year, Louth, Cavan, and Fermanagh maybe, and those teams go, okay, we're sitting off you. You come beat us. Cork have the same 15 lads on the pitch that now they're not told you have to scrap, hustle, and, you know, out-battle this team. Now the onus is on you to go and beat them. You have to play football against this team and beat them. And yet we still don't see the likes of David Buckley brought in, Mark Cronin, like these lads that are beautiful footballers that Cork have in their ranks. We still see them almost go with a one-size-fits-all solution. And just because he is a Cork man, Matthew, I'll go back to you on that. Do you think that's something that is there to see, that maybe Cork have such a good defensive plan for when they come up against teams that probably are more skilled, but then when they are the more skilled, it's like they don't know how to use it?
It's a very good point, and even Mark Cronin, to be fair, has been playing over the last few games, but he did actually come off in the game against Cavan, and that's, you know, John Cleary was right to do that. In fair, I know he was performing well, but he was on a yellow card, and he didn't want to go out to 13 men at that point, so that was a bit of context there. But Blake Murphy, for example, ripped up the championship in the under-20 level a few years ago, and he's not playing. I'm not sure why. Damien Gore gave him a chance. You know, he's a very good outgoing forward. You have other players in and around the panel as well. Like, to be fair, Conor Corbett is missing, and I think he has the ability to stretch defences. And I think Sigurdsson Cup has had his toll on him. To be honest with you, I think he got an injury in that competition, and then, you know, he hasn't come back since. But as well as that, Seamus, I don't think we take our goal chances either. Like, even, I don't know, did anybody see the Owen McSweeney goal chance against Cavan? Like, that is a huge miss. You know, you can't miss those sorts of opportunities. And to be fair, like, if Owen McSweeney took that goal chance, we would have gone into half-time 6 points up. And that would have been game, set, match. You know, those crucial moments in games. And even going back to the Low game, we missed 5 goal chances in the game, and we didn't take any of those chances out of 5. You know, that's hard. It really is hard. The only goal chances we did take in the league so far was against Donegal. And to be honest, it didn't matter in the end, because Donegal are a much, much better team than us. So I think, honestly, what we need to do against Fermanagh, we need to feed the ball more to Chris Oak-Jones. I have done some stats on this. He's actually, I think, the second top scorer for play in Division 2 with 1 goal and 7 points. So we need to feed the ball to him. He's the guy on form. He's the guy that Fermanagh need to, you know, match up with. But at the same time, Fermanagh could mark him out of the game. They could put someone like Shea Cullen or Lee Cullen on. You know, so we need to have a plan B if that happens. And it probably will happen. So that's a very good point you make. And I hope that John Cleary brings in the likes of Blake Murphy, the likes of Damien Gore, the likes of David Buckley, and have a go off Fermanagh. Don't be afraid. You know, that's the main thing that they need to do.
That's it. Take the muzzle off the attack. Simply put, like stop trying to battle past teams that you probably have more skill than, and go for the victory. Look, you've gone with Fermanagh. I actually am going to go with Cork. I'm going to go with Cork to take this by a point. I think Cork are nowhere near as dire as Kildare, even in my opinion, because Cork, you're right, Cork have had a bad start. But if Owen McSweeney puts that ball in the back of the net against Cavan, they're 6 points clear at half-time. They missed all those goal chances against Louth, but they're still making them. Kildare are basically not even there. Like, they had, like, one shot goes wide from Dara Kirwan and they fold. Like, they were about as sturdy as a sandcastle against Armagh. Like, this is what I think. I think there is a fight back coming from Cork. I think they need a performance where they step up and show themselves to be as good as they showed themselves to be last year. I'm going to go Cork by 1 point. Luke, the casting vote, please do not pick a draw. Go for Fermanagh or Cork so that we can do the table thing at the end of the round and say who's going to be where.
Yeah, look, I think Matthew's given a pretty impassioned reason as to why he doesn't think Cork are going to get the win at the weekend. Look, I think when it came down to it, I was probably saying that, look, surely the Cork fight back has to come at some stage, that they do have to put in the performance at some stage. And I was thinking this weekend, but look, I'm not going to overrule Matthew on this now as well, that, like, well, I think we'll go with Fermanagh to win it. Okay.
So Fermanagh would then, according to the table, Fermanagh let's take a look just to refresh ourselves. Fermanagh would be on 5 points after 4 games, which is a bit of a dream start for Kieran Donnelly. And I mean, like, depending on how results go, if Cavan slip up or anything, they could be into 3rd place, which is absolutely remarkable from Fermanagh under Kieran Donnelly. A lot of people, including myself, tipped them to go down. Now, another team that were tipped to take a massive step back, well, both teams that were tipped to have a tough Division 2 campaign, were Louth and Cavan. They square off in RD at 2 o'clock on Sunday. This game is a really interesting one because, like, Luke, I'll go to you this one first. On the one hand, you have Louth, who are fresh off the year, post-Mickey Hart era. A lot of people saying that, that's the end of that. Louth have been defiant in their performances. Very unlucky to lose to Meath. Very unlucky to lose to Armagh in round 1 and then beat Cork in the meantime. Cavan have made a dream start under Raymond Galligan. And what we're talking about here is if Armagh and Donegal, like if Donegal beat Armagh, then Armagh are on 6 points. And if Cavan beat Louth, that means Cavan are on 6 points too. And Cavan still have to face Armagh. So the whole dynamic could change if Cavan win this game. Do you think they will?
Yeah, I do actually. I think that, look, I think that it's actually the gap between themselves and Donegal and Armagh. It's not huge at all. Like, it's really not. And yeah, I like what they're doing. I do like what they're doing a lot. Like, you talk about foreign players as well. Paddy Lynch is probably, I'd say, arguably the foreign player in Division 2. Like, he just looks unplayable at the moment as well. And yeah, I think Louth have had a funny one, that they've been competitive at the same time. Look, I think it was a late goal to get to make the scoreline a little bit better, but then you can argue that Meath didn't score the goal long before that as well. So that was a very competitive game in parts too. And then obviously, look, Louth, they left chances behind them. I think probably against Armagh, they left chances behind them there too. They're not getting beaten out the gate. I think Ger Brennan in his start, he's keeping them being competitive. But look, I just think Cavan have better players. I do think the Cavan have better players, and I think they've more star quality about them. And yeah, no, look, I think Cavan are dark horses to go up this year. I really do think that. I think it's really not beyond the realms of possibility that we could see them go up and break that top 2. But yeah, no, I think Donegal the best team in the division by quite a bit. But like, between Cavan and Armagh, I don't think the gap between them two is really much at all.
Yeah, and I mean, funny stat is Cavan have won the Ulster Championship way more recent than both of these two teams. So I mean, that's a interesting stat to note when you're talking about this game. Cavan won it in 2020. Donegal's last one was 2019. Armagh's last one was 2008. So massive pressure there on Kieran McGeeney. Matthew, do you agree? Louth or Cavan in RD?
I'd agree with Luke. Yeah, I'd probably go for Cavan. But I would say it is a very interesting game, as you mentioned there. I think these are both sides that are probably performing above themselves. I don't care what Louth fans have said over the last few weeks about after the Cork game. I just think with the players that they have, with the population that they have, the new manager bouncing Ger Brennan, I think they are performing above themselves. And fair play to Louth for that. I think the performance against Meath, Luke, I expected Meath to win that game. Or expected a draw at least. I don't think Meath are as bad as people are making them out to be. So I think that was always going to be a difficult game for Louth. So going to RD, it's going to be a difficult game for Cavan. Like, I've been to RD as you know with the Cork game, and it's exactly like a club pitch, lads. It's basically you go into a road, you have to park onto a curb or whatever, and walk down the street when cars are running, speeding past you. And you basically go into a club gate, and there's only one stand there. So it's not a pretty place to go for Cavan. I know they're performing well at the moment, but and they have to put in players as Luke mentioned there. Paddy Lynch is on former Division 2 top scorer with 22 points. Dave O'Shea Brady there as well. Dar McVitie actually didn't play against Cork. It'll be interesting to see if he comes into the starting 15 in this game. He's a very, very athletic player. Raymond Gallagher's done well as manager, obviously. You have Parrot Faulkner, who's well able to get stuck in. It's a tight one, it really is. I think I'd agree with Luke having a better players, but I think RD is a very, very tough place to go. So, am I going to cop out and say a draw here? No, I'm going to go for Cavan. I'm going to go for Cavan just because of the players that they have. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if Louth come out with the win.
Yep, no, I agree with you. Sweep for Cavan for me. Yeah. I think Louth will absolutely run them close, but I think Cavan will nick it. I think Cavan by a point. That's what I'd be going with. Now, this game is massive for both of these teams. Meath against Kildare, Sunday at 2 o'clock in Port Talton. Now, Luke, I'll go back to you as a Leinster man, similar to myself. Meath and Kildare, both at different stages, I think, in terms of the optimism around the county. Look, Meath had a tough start to the league, winless from 2 games. Same to Kildare, but last week Meath showed a hell of a lot of fight to pull themselves back and beat Louth. Plus, they have the good feel about the Tailteann Cup win and Keane McBride coming back from the AFL. Whereas Kildare looked shocking against Armagh, and that's 3 defeats from 3 games. The game was over so quickly. That was the thing I was saying. I was stunned at how fast the game was over against Armagh. They were 1-4 to no score behind after 10 minutes, and they were 2-8 to 4 points down at half time. Like, just done. Easy as. And going into this game, they need a performance, they need a bite back, they need a win. Can they get it in this game?
Look, I think this is the game with the most riding on it for the entire, in all the divisions really. In this one, I think, look, you don't see it like in the GA much though. But like, you don't do mid-season seconds. Like, it just doesn't happen. But like, I really think that it's not far off the cards in Kildare that we could see a change in management if this continues like that. I think last weekend was so bad that I don't think we've seen as much of a capitulation by teams. Well, that the players do look like they've down tools completely. For the management, there was nothing in that performance whatsoever. I think it's and yeah, look, whatever's happening, it's not working at all really at the moment. I think, look, if given what we have at the weekend as well with Meath, the near rivals and everything like that as well, as another side that probably, like, yeah, they got a good result against Louth last time out, but like a side that haven't really been setting the world alight. If it's a comfortable win for Meath, I think, like, genuinely think that the Kildare public will probably get sick of what we're currently seeing. And although, look, you can't say that it's just management. The players are clearly not putting in, like, they're clearly not putting it in fully for the management as well. But like, I think if it's a bad result the weekend, I could go even as far as saying that, like, we could see a change and that somebody else coming in taking over.
Well, that's it. And I assume you're picking Meath to win, eh?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I am. Yeah, I think I am. I think, look, it depends what sort of bounce comes, but like, if you're going based off the performance last week from Kildare, like it was an absolute shambles last week. And yeah, I think based on that, Meath showed a bit of fight when they needed a performance. They put the performance in against Louth, and we saw nothing from Kildare. So I think based off that, like, they'll come out and completely turn it around. But like, I think you have to go off last week and just, like, yeah, from there I'm going to say Meath by maybe a 2 or 3. But like, yeah, I think if that happens, I'd be curious what you think about this. But like, it's very early in the season for players not to be playing for a management team.
Oh, it is. And like, look, the reality is that we see across the board in other sports, whenever a manager starts pointing the finger at this, or it's this, or it's this, or it's this, like, it's a terrible sign for what the camp must be like. And anytime you're pointing the finger at the journalist who has the tape, or the music in Croke Park, or anything like that, it's something's not right in-house. And you're pointing out at anybody else, but something's not right in-house. And this is what I was saying, Matthew. I've said this to Aaron. I'd be interested to get your take on it. I've said this to John. The players are there. We've seen Kevin Feely at his best. We've seen Daniel Flynn at his best. We've seen Kevin Flynn at his best. The underage players are there. Like, the structures are there for producing those under 20 players. Like, James McGrath was, absolutely outstanding this year. Why is he not getting a run out this year? Players like Jack Robinson, Jimmy Hyland, Paddy Woodgate that have all come through over the last few years. Shay Ryan as well is another good one. Aaron O'Neill was a fantastic goalkeeper coming through for Kildare, and instead they're playing him wing forward. Like, I don't really understand what's going on. Then you have on the sideline, you had Glenn Ryan, John Doyle, Anthony Rainbow, Dermot Earley was there. I'm not sure if he's there this year, but 4 of the biggest legends that Kildare have had in the 21st century. if you're a Kildare footballer and you're not going to get up for a game for them, you're not going to get up for a game for anybody else. If you're a Kildare footballer and Glenn Ryan puts his arm around you and says, listen, I need a big game out of you, there's no one else that should command that respect in Kildare football for what they did in their football career like Glenn Ryan. So my point is that the players are there, the juvenile structures are there to get the players to come through, to get those good under 20 sides. They won the All-Ireland under 20 in 2023, and 2018, and made the final in 2022. And the players are there at senior level, and the management team is star-studded. So my point is, there's a disconnect somewhere. So either the managers, there's too many head chefs in the kitchen, or this is an issue with the bunch of players that are there. Because we saw issues with Cian O'Neill. We saw certain players didn't play for Kildare under Jack O'Connor. So where's the disconnect?
Yeah, exactly. And even before that, I want to go back even further with Jason Ryan. Remember Kerry scored 7 goals in Croke Park? That was a big one as well. And what I will say about Cork Kildare, I think both of them are playing the same way. I think it's boring football to watch, but I think the difference between the two of them, and especially the managers, John Cleary and Jackie already mentioned this in the RTGA podcast, to be fair, for during the week. John Cleary comes out and says, look, it's on ourselves. We have to perform better next week. And you know what? I commend John Cleary for that. Glenn Ryan goes out and blames journalists and blames music. And I'm like, it's your own fault. You got yourself in this mess.
This one was, Matthew, the funniest one was he made a beeline for the referee at the end of the Armagh game. Like, why? What are you talking about? Like, to go complain to the ref after you got your ass handed to you. Like, you can't have a go at the ref after you've been absolutely annihilated. And it's a good comment from Kilcooty. He says, Kildare players must have down tools. Bad reflection on them given the legends in charge. That is true. But at the same time, I think it's a combination of two. I think it's the players don't have the best culture. They definitely isn't up there with the likes of your Kerrys, your Dublins, your Mayos, your Derrys, especially now in terms of being player-led, having leaders in the team, having captains in that dressing room, dragging the team along with them. But on top of that, when you see your leader, your captain-in-chief, just making ridiculous excuses and picking fights with journalists after the game, it just adds to this toxic atmosphere around them.
And it just gets awkward, the place around Kildare as well. And it just doesn't seem to be very rosy in the garden of the pitch, to be honest with you. Look, I looked at the highlights now. I looked at Rory Grugan's goal for Armagh in particular. He deliberately, even looking at the clip, he deliberately put it through a Kildare guy's legs and into the net. Like, it was easy. It was almost like he was taking the mick out of him.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. You know what? These Kildare players, they need to, rise up to the occasion. And what I will say about structures and things like that, and people, Glenn Roy might talk about Kildare County Board, and there's something wrong with that. But here's a few stats on this. The hurling team are making strides like Kildare teams have never done in their history. Mm-hmm. The ladies footballers are doing absolutely outstanding. They've won every single game in Division 2. The schools level,
All-Ireland intermediate champions as well.
Exactly, as well. Naas CBS doing very well in the Hogan Cup. I'd wish the best of luck, obviously, against Oma CBS and Mercy Mountauk. They're doing really, really well. You look at the Kildare under 20 side, not just the All-Ireland win last year, but 2 years ago they were in the final against Tyrone. Where are them players gone? And as well as that,
the thing is, Matthew, when you're talking about it, like Kildare, if Mickey Hart and Ger Brennan, say for example, had the players that Kildare have with that Loud team, like, do you see where I'm going with it? Like, they would have achieved a lot more with them.
Yeah. Oh, they would have, yeah. And the thing is, as well, another thing as well with colleges in Sigurdsson Cup, Maynooth University, main college in Kildare, got to the semi-finals of the competition and only lost by 40 points to Ulster University. They were very competitive in that game, to be fair. Derek Huron was one of their stars in the forward line. Like, why are these players just downing tools once it comes to senior level? And it wasn't just this year, it was last year as well. They were very, very poor. And as well as that, I think you actually made this point, Seamus, so correct me if I'm wrong now, but Kildare have better players than Loud or let's say Cavan, but the mentality, Loud and Cavan tops them.
Oh, easy.
I don't know, I don't know who actually said that. It was you. It was.
Well, I
But
agree with it. So I definitely agree with it. So, and it's a point that I definitely would agree with. I've said that 3 times, but it's definitely something that's true. Like Kildare, pound for pound, player for player, have good enough players to be competing. I think in the lower half of Division 1, or definitely the upper half of Division 2. No question about it. You see, like Monaghan, with the size of population that they have and the way that they're able to keep churning out players and the way that there's such a good morale around their team, even after they've taken some beatings at the hands of Kerry and Derry, they still come back. Rory Beggan goes to the NFL. Darren Hughes is out. Conor McManus is out. They go play Dublin and Croke Park. Does that bother them? No, it doesn't. They go and they beat Dublin and Croke Park. Like, that's the spirit. That's the type of mentality that Kildare need to instill into their group. And yeah, I personally think Meath will win this game. I do think that there has to be a bite back at some point. Do you think it's coming this weekend, or do you agree with myself and Luke? And is it a sweep for Meath?
Yeah, it's a sweep for Meath, no doubt about it. But I think we're all lost to the sight here that Kildare are in disarray, which they are. But Meath have made really good strides. And unlike Kildare and Cork, they're performing badly. But even in that Fermanagh game, they were very, very poor, Bar Talton, but still got a point out of it. And that tells you all, they showed fight, mentality. That's the issue with Meath. And as well as that, they have very good young players. I think they're very, very underrated in many ways, considering they perform poorly against Fermanagh. And against Armagh are just a better team than them. You have to accept that. Against Louth, they showed guts to win that game. They were down 3 points, I think, at half time, 9 points to 6. They went back into the game, went back into the dressing room, came out in the second half, a completely different team. And that's the mentality. And that's the mentality Kildare need. But they're not going to get it this weekend.
I personally think this, right? Like, glad we're on the same page. No one's picked a draw this time. But in terms of, like, I think the first 10 minutes will decide it. If Meath go 5 points clear in the first 10 minutes, that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? If Meath hit the first 3 points, it's done. Kildare need a good start. Kildare need to get the first 3 or 4 scores. And like, I'd say they need to get at least 3 out of the first 5 scores. And if they get that, then they can be able to build a little bit of confidence. Meath might, get a tune out with them, but the fact that it is the Leinster rivals, everything like that. But I would say Meath will win it, especially in Port Talton. Which brings us on to the final game. The last time Jim McGuinness and Kieran McGeeney locked horns, one of the most infamous times anyway, referencing Kildare. Obviously, McGeeney was in charge. Kevin Cassidy hit that iconic winner. That was in the All-Ireland quarterfinal in 2011. Armagh Donegal, Sunday at 3 o'clock at the Athletic Grounds. Luke, I'll go to you for this one first. Armagh Donegal, it's an insane rivalry. Remember 2022 when they faced off in the championship? They had a cracking game and then a cracking fight at the end of the game as well. And the GA basically said, you see, you packing messes, like, go on there and you can play the next game. Just don't do it again, all right? And then they had another great game. Donegal won the first one. Armagh won the second one. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, this is the kind of the flashy fixture, I suppose, of the weekend. And like, I suppose we'll get our first look at McGuinness in the league against probably a Division 1 caliber side. Like, they've been unbelievable so far, Donegal. They've been really, really good. And they look like, right now, they look like you'd say, oh, that's a team that could contend for an All-Ireland. But this will be a game. We'll get to judge them now a little bit more. We'll see them where they're not getting things all their own way now a bit. They've look, so we'll get to see them really kind of be put up against it now. And yeah, they've had tough games so far as well. Probably the Cavan game there was the one that stands out. But I think it'll be a really interesting game in that sense. And it'll be curious what McGuinness does with it too, though, as well. It's like, what style will we see? Because if you're coming up against a side that they're probably maybe 50-50 ranked against as well, how does he approach it as well? Like, from an Armagh game, like, I don't think they can take anything from Kildare the week before because Kildare were that appalling. But like, at the same time, like, they're coming into this as well with a crack at the ball. Is there a bit of shadow boxing going on, considering that they've Ulster coming up as well? It's just a lot of unknown factors going into it as well. Like, if you had to push me for a result, like, I think Donegal's form is just that good. But I think Donegal just the way they're playing right now, they look the best team in the division. And like, even if they were playing Division 1, I'd say they'd be top 3 or 4 in Division 1 the way they're playing right now. So look, based off all that, wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, I'm going Donegal as well. So 2 votes down for Donegal. I think personally, McGuinness, he's getting the tune out of the Donegal lads. Even when Cavan pushed him to the pin of their collars, they got the win. Aaron went for Armagh. Matthew, would you go for Armagh, or are you going to go with Donegal as well?
I'm going to stick with Donegal. I agree with Luke. I think they're in really, really good form at the moment, and they would do good in Division 1. It's not a slight on Armagh, and I know they are at home, but I just feel Donegal are performing that good at the moment. They're like a steam train. They're ready to go for the championship. Armagh are performing well, to be fair to them, but again, as Luke had mentioned there, what would they have learned last week? Like, that was an abomination who killed them there. But Donegal, against a decent Fermanagh side last week, they put them away and surged at the start of the second half, and fair play to them for that. Darb Wheel again will be key for them. You look at Paddy McBrear's in, Oisin Gallen, the forward line as well. So I'd have to fancy Donegal to go on and win the game too.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Donegal to take it. So let's take a look at what the table might look like if all of the results that we picked do work out. So having a look at it again, if Donegal were to beat Armagh, Donegal will go up to the top of the table on 8 points. If Cavan were to beat Louth, Cavan would match Armagh on 6 points, which would make their game against Armagh absolutely huge. If Fermanagh beat Cork, Fermanagh will be on 5 points. They will be just behind Armagh and Cavan as well, extraordinarily. Meath would be there with them after beating Kildare. Louth would be at the bottom of the table alongside Cork and Kildare, having not moved. The bottom 3 would not change at all. So it's very, very interesting how this weekend's fixtures could impact that division. Now, we'll go on to Division 3 and we'll speed it up a little bit because we're an hour and 10 minutes in and we still have the hurling leagues to cover as well. So, Matthew, I'll ask you for your opinions on basically all of the Division 3 round 4 games. Luke, I'll go to you for them as well. Then we'll look at the table and pick how we think it's going to look at the end of this week. So, Matthew, Division 3's round 4. We have Down versus Offaly and Port Esler at 6 p.m. on Saturday. We have Clare versus Wicklow on Sunday at 2 p.m. in Cusack Park. We have Sligo versus Antrim and at Markovich Park on Sunday at 2 o'clock. And Westmeath against Limerick at Cusack Park on the Sunday at 2 o'clock as well. So, yeah, I mean, Down and Westmeath there, 100% records for both of them. What are you expecting from round 4 of Division 3?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty straightforward for 3 of the games, in my opinion. I think Down will win easily. I think Westmeath will win easily. I think Clare will win easily against Wicklow as well. And what I want Wicklow, the form that they showed with the media box that offered the last day was an absolute disgrace. And they should be punished for what they did for Westmeath journalists, to be honest. And yeah, really, really poor from them. I think the title round this week is the Sligo Antrim game in Markovich Park. That's a huge game considering Antrim had a bit of a setback last week against Down. Sligo seems to be going well. I back Sligo in that game slightly. I think Antrim are a good side, but I just feel the defeat against Down last week will knock a stuffing out of them. But I think Sligo will just nick that one, and then the other 3 games pretty easy to call, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I'm going for a clean sweep for the home teams. Down to beat Offaly, Clare to beat Wicklow, Sligo to beat Antrim, and Westmeath to beat Limerick. That's what I'm fairly happy with. While we're on Offaly as well, Michael Duignan couldn't agree more with what he said, coming to the defence of the players. Any fan that goes after a player as a person and starts calling them all sorts of no respect for that. So if Offaly lose this weekend, just remember it's to a downside that's won 100% of their games so far in the league and is very much on a one-way ticket out of Division 3. They should not be in that division right now. Luke, your take on these games to remind you of them. Down play Offaly and Port Esler. Clare play Wicklow in Cusack Park. Sligo play Antrim in Markovich Park. And Westmeath play Limerick at Cusack Park, Mullingar.
Yeah, no, essentially agree with all that's been said there. Really, kind of, it's the only one. Look, I think Antrim showed a bit of momentum to start the season in there as well. Yeah, I know it's tough last week, but I just think Down are that far ahead in Division 3. Like, I think, again, similarly to how we talked about other teams, Down are a Division 2 side. Like, to be real kind of here as well. So I think, look, I'd have a bit more hope for Antrim as well. I think they have a good chance of getting a result in there too. But like, completely agreeing the 3 other results as well. And look, I know we'll be going with the results you said there as well for our table. But just to comment on the Offaly, like, I think. Yeah, no, look, I think there could be quite a little bit of negativity about it. I think the real reason was that I think they were 8 points up with 14 minutes to go last week as well. It was an almighty capitulation. And yeah, no, look, you can understand a bit of frustration from the public when it comes to that sort of stuff as well. The momentum does seem to be gone. The young players aren't coming through a little bit. And yeah, I think they could face quite a heavy enough beating. So hopefully from an Offaly perspective as well, that doesn't cause a derail to their season, because it did show a little bit of promise.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I mean, like Cormac Egan and Jack Bryant and these guys coming through are as good young talents as we've seen coming into any inter-county setup over the last few years. So let's take a look at what the league table would look like if all those results were to happen. So we've gone agreed with each other across the board there, which is very rare. But yeah, we've gone for a clean sweep for the home teams, and that would mean that Down and Westmeath would still be perfect 100% record, 4 wins out of 4 for both of our sides. They'd be on 8 points. Sligo and Clare would be right behind them on 6 points as well. Antrim would still be in 5th on 4 points, and that remarkably would mean that Offaly, Wicklow and Limerick would all still be on 0 points after 4 games, which, as I said at the start of the episode, must be a first for the Allianz Leagues. Like, there's no question about it. That is extremely rare. And we'll do the same thing for Division 4's round 4. So that takes place over this weekend as well. Wexford will face Waterford on Saturday at 5 p.m. in Wexford Park. Longford will face London on Sunday at 1 p.m. in Pearse Park. Carlow will face Leitrim on Sunday at 2 p.m. in Dr. Cullen Park. That's a trial around for me. And Tipperary will face Laois on Sunday at 2 p.m. in Semple Stadium. Luke, I'll go to you first for these ones.
Yeah, look, I think there are 3 kind of, again, probably 3 obvious ones as well. And then, yeah, look, it's like, I think you look at kind of a lot of the momentum in here as well, that like Laois have been that side. I think each division has had one kind of side that's looked really, really great. And yeah, I think that like Laois have just been that, with just McNulty coming in as well, that it's just been a really smooth transition as well. I think I fully expect them to get over the line as well. We know Waterford have been an absolute car crash so far as well, so I think Wexford will have no issues there whatsoever. Like London have been good. They've got some good results in there too. Like obviously last week drawn against Tipperary, and just look, but they're coming up against Longford, who again I think Longford just have a bit too much quality. And then sure, remind me of the last game there.
Tipperary Laois. No, sorry, Carlow Leitrim.
Yeah, and Carlow Leitrim. That's the tie it around there as well. That's the one that's kind of a hard one to call there, I'd say as well. That, like, yeah, both sides have shown a bit of something anyway as well. I'm going to go Carlow. I'll go Carlow at home. I think that, yeah, like maybe coming into the start of the season, I think we might have said the Leitrim were probably in a slightly better place, but Carlow picked up some good results along the way, and like they've shown a bit of form in there as well. Journey down into Carlow as well. I'll go with Carlow to edge it there, but I think the other 3 are going to be quite heavy beatings.
Yeah, I agree with you on the first 2. I think Wexford will beat Waterford without much fuss. I think Longford will beat London as well. Carlow Leitrim is difficult to call. Leitrim looked like they were dead set on promotion last year until they coughed up a costly defeat against Wexford, and that kind of derailed their whole campaign. Laois is even similar, because this time last year Laois looked dead set for promotion. They went away to Sligo in round 1, beat them by 6 points. I was thinking, wow, Laois are going up. And then they lost to Wicklow and they lost to Leitrim, and that derailed their whole promotion push. I think this year's Leitrim team and this year's Laois teams are different. I think I'm going to go with Leitrim to beat Carlow, and I'm going to go with Laois to beat Tipperary. Matthew, is it a sweep for 3 of the games, and then you have the casting vote on the Carlow Leitrim game?
Yeah, it's a complete sweep on the 3 games mentioned. But what I will say about Luke's comments there of Waterford, I don't think it's been a disaster or anything like that. It's just their level, you know, Waterford. And to be fair, last weekend against Longford, they were very, very good for stages of that game. And you just hope that Waterford get a win. More than anything, just to keep the confidence going for them players in many ways. But I would expect Wexford to go on and win that game. But then again, Waterford did beat Wexford, I think, twice in the last 3 years. So Southeast Derby, maybe something in it, but I'd still back Wexford to win that game, and the other two definitely wins there for Laois and Longford. The other game, I'd go with Luke for that one. I'm going to go for Carlow at home. I just think Carlow are going to go on and win that game. And Leitrim, but at the same time with Leitrim, you might say they're different, but at the same time, against Wexford, they need a 74th-minute penalty from Ryan O'Rourke to get over the line and win that game. So I'm going to go for a Carlow win. And Carlow are a decent team this season, so I'm going to go for them and watch Cullen Park.
Yeah, no, it is very fair. And Carlow need to bounce back as well after the defeat that they suffered to Laois. So then let's take a look at what the Division 4 table would look like if those results were to take place. So still sitting pretty at the top will be Laois after winning their 4th game. They'd be on 8 points then. Carlow will tie with Leitrim then on 6 points each in 2nd place. We've gone for Laois to beat Tipperary. So Tipperary will be leapfrogged then by Longford and Wexford, who will both jump up to 4 points. Tipperary will be in 6th then on 3 points. London will be on 1 point. And Waterford will still be rooted to the bottom of the table on 0 points after 4 games. So that is the football finished. We now switch across to the hurling and go to Division 1A's round 3. So before we jump in to the hurling, where we have the tables here for both divisions. So let's remind ourselves what they look like. So here, obviously, Division 1 Group A, we have Clare sitting pretty at the top, 2 wins from 2. Kilkenny below them on 3 points, a win and a draw. Waterford on 2 points. Wexford on 2 points after 2 draws, funnily enough. Offaly on 1 point after their draw against Wexford. And Cork on the bottom with 2 defeats from 2. In the other group, Limerick on top, 2 wins from 2. Tipperary the same. Galway 1 win from 2 games, same as Dublin. And Antrim and Westmeath rooted to the bottom with no wins from 2 games as well. So we'll start with, of course, Division 1A's round 3. And Cork against Waterford. Sunday at 3:45 in Porky Queeve. Matthew, this, just like it is for the footballers, a big weekend for the hurlers.
It's a massive weekend, but it wouldn't be as negative for the hurlers as the footballers, considering we beat Deep Play Clare, Kilkenny, and the fact we're missing Kieran Joy, Star Fitzgibbon, and Alan Connolly. That's 2-3 huge losses, in my opinion. So I'd back Cork to win this game. I think Waterford, it's a bit of a weird one. They do have young good players, but it doesn't seem to be working out for Davy Fitz. They don't seem to buy into anything. I will say Paddy Levy did play well in midfield against Clare the other day, and the other weekend, should I say. But I'm going to go
bat the ball. Tap off the hurley. Oh. Never thought we'd see the hand pass equivalent introduced in the GAA, but we've seen it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But, I'd say Cork should go on and win this game, especially at home in Super Valley Park. I need to call it Super Valley. It's getting used to. But yeah, I'm going to back Cork to go on and win it. So I think they need to win this game to avoid relegation. I don't think Cork necessarily care about the league if they're 1A or 1B next year. I honestly don't. I think the main aim is the championship. And at the same time, Cork kind of peaked too early last year. When you think about it, and in the championship they went out in Munster. So I think it's good to be playing badly now rather than in the Munster Championship. That's just the way the Hurling League is at the moment. So I'm actually quite confident as a Cork fan at the moment, and I think they'll beat Waterford at the weekend.
Yeah, I would agree, and so does Denise. Denise says easy win for Cork by at least 3 points. Yeah, so then Luke, moving on to you to finish that one out. Cork or Waterford? Is it a sweep for Cork? Wait 1 second. There we go.
Sorry, yeah. I think so. I think both teams are playing weird stuff at the moment, and it's just, I think that the Cork performance against Kilkenny, the first 25 minutes was appalling. It was absolutely appalling, and they went back to type, and it was sideways pass, and it was real. There was no bite about it. There was no nothing, and it was like if you copy and pasted Cork for the previous couple of years as well, all the fight was gone. All the fight that we saw in the round robin last year was gone. And then in the second half, they get a bit of pace, and then they end up being in the game, and then they lose it by a point when they probably should have got a result out of it. It's just very hard to know what's the crack with Cork. They're a bit of an enigma. I think, look, they'll play here against them. They'll probably, the likes of Lahan and Horgan will probably hit a few nice scores as well. But I'm a little bit disappointed with them this year as well. I thought that they'd kick on a little bit more than what they have as well. And you talk like about them finding more players as well, but they're still playing the same lads. Like not a single player has been dropped from last year's panel, where you can think of maybe 3 or 4 fellas that you doubt that they're ever going to be a toss inter-county player. And like I think they've missed a bit of a trick here now as well. You look at the full forward line that I still think they're going to go into championship, but potentially that they'll still be relying on Horgan and Harnedy, and there's a decent chance Lahan's going to be starting. And in a league where they had a great chance to blood players, like they are trying to peak for championship, but they still are playing the 30-something-year-old players too. But I think this is the type of game they'll be better for this game. They'll probably pack the team. Joyce will be back. Coleman will probably get his first start of the year as well. And like the bit of individual class from those fellows will get them over the line. But like I don't know. Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a disaster start to the league for them so far. They're saying that they don't really mind it, but I think it's I think Pat Ryan will be disappointed that the likes of Ben Cunningham hasn't been fit, and he'll be disappointed that they've been disrupted so far and they haven't got to play the youth that they wanted to play. But look, I think they'll get the win anyway. Waterford have a lot of missing bodies as well. They've an awful lot of missing bodies, and I don't know what's the status for all of them coming back the weekend. I think they 10 of them missing for last week against Clare and only lost by a point. But yeah, I think Cork are going to edge it. But like, I do think Waterford, when they get the first 15 back, Waterford in the championship with the first 15 will be a lot better. I wouldn't be as negative as most people seem to be about them.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's a lot to be positive about still in Waterford, the likes of Patrick Fitzgerald, Pádraig Fitzgerald, everything like that. We have a comment in here from Evelyn. She says, is there any camogie this weekend? I don't know when it's going to start. Not much media attention compared to the masculine sports. The camogie round 1, I think, took place last week. We have round 2 for the top divisions taking place this weekend. There's another video coming for that on Cluiche. I'm going to do a personal, just a weekend preview for that as well, because if we were to do all 4 sports in this one video, we would be here for about 2.5 hours. So stay tuned for that, Evelyn, and Denise agrees as well with that. Stay tuned for that. Tomorrow will be coming on Cluiche. It will be me giving my preview for the camogie fixtures on this weekend. Now we'll go back to the hurling and we'll go to the final game. Oh, sorry, the other 2 games that are in this group. So are we both going Cork? We're both going for Cork win. I agree. On to the next one. I feel like we'll all agree on this one too. Kilkenny against Offaly at Nolan Park Sunday, 1:45 p.m. Matthew, how much of a chance do Offaly have in this one?
0 next to none, unfortunately, Seamus. Look. To be fair though, all jokes aside, Offaly have made progress this year. Like Charlie Mitchell performed well against Wexford. Adam Screeney got into the team and it was great to see him. Killian Coyley had a very good game the last day. And you feel like what Offaly hurling is on the rise. But at the same time, they need to go up to Joe McDonagh Cup level. Thanks, Seamus. I think but I think Offaly need to go up. They need to go up to the Liam McCarthy Cup if they want to progress even further. Like the loss last year against Sligo, or against Carlow, should I say, was very, very disappointing in many ways in Grove Park, and I think they need to win that Joe McDonagh Cup this year. For Kilkenny, they'll play the likes of Billy Brennan, and they'll play other players, and I think they will get on the line eventually.
Goodness gracious. Luke, did you drop your phone in water? No, I heard Matthew about 7 times coming back through. But from the points I heard, I agree with Matthew. Luke, would you agree Kilkenny to beat Offaly?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that I think look at that. Offaly targeted the first 2 games. They targeted Waterford, and then they targeted Wexford. And look, they got 2 good performances out of that as well. And look, Kilkenny, Offaly know from Kilkenny that Kilkenny like to beat teams out the gate, and that like if they're coming up against a team that they think that they're better at, they're going to try and just keep them down as well. I think Kilkenny win by 10.
Yeah, I do think Kilkenny will win as well. We've one more comment in here from our mutual sponsor, Killian McMullen, Capture Athletics. There's the logo. Cheers, guys. We obviously have the Capture hoodie as well, guys. Absolutely lovely piece of clothing. Thank you very, very much to the lads at Capture Athletics. Any sportswear you need, they're the best in the business. Kiyakudi has a comment in here saying fans letting off flares in Luke's room. United away. Anyway, the most bizarre I'd ever seen, Matthew, I know you remember this, was when Super Value Park was just the news had kind of broken, and within 5 minutes of the live stream starting, there was about 50 comments in about Super Value Park. But yeah, we have one more in here as well. But then we'll move on to the next one anyway. Wexford against Clare. Sunday, 3:45 p.m. Doesn't have the same bite since Davy Fitz moved away. It's the first edition of Keith Rossiter stepping up now against Brian Lohan. This one's interesting. Wexford drawing with Kilkenny and then drawing with Offaly. It seems like the unpredictable nature of Wexford is continuing for the first part anyway of Rossiter's era. Luke, I'll go to you first. Wexford or Clare for this one?
Yeah, no, look, I think that we look, when you think about this game, you think about last season, where you think about what it was like six goals shipped anyway down that, and then there was the game afterwards where the comments were made afterwards how half the players weren't going to see game time again for Wexford last season as well, and it was an absolute car crash down there as well. Look, roster's coming in, and it's going to be, yeah, no, look, it does look up now as well, that they have kind of like, there is more positivity in the camp than when Darragh Egan was there. But then at the same time, look, the Offaly game did come as a bit of a setback to them as well. Clare are blooding a lot of players as well. I still expect to see a lot of the younger fellas in there as well. That maybe Conor Lean had a good game cornerback. Sean Ryn's going to play probably again in there. I'd say Patrick Crotty will get another start in there too. So a lot of positivity in Clare, that they're playing without Tony Kelly, without Ryan Taylor, without Shane O'Donnell, and they're still getting wins. Obviously, Wexford Park has its own climate down there as well, which it's tough to play into. But at the same time, I don't think Clare are too intimidated by the trip down there as well. I think based off form, I'd be going with Clare. I don't think Clare will be too upset, too worried about it anyway as well. They can probably use this as a game to play their first choice, because they have a few games that they'd probably expect to win coming up after that. So I'd say Clare might put out a strong enough 15 for it, target it, and then say that we've got the handier fixtures coming up after that as well. So I'm going to go with Clare to win it anyway. But I think Wexford, obviously you compare them to where they were last year when Clare came to visit into town as well, that it'll be nothing like that.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you. I think Clare will take this. I think Clare will make it 3 wins out of 3. Matthew, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Clare will as well. But what I will say about Wexford, there's a different mentality than last year. I think Keith Rossiter is doing a good job there. I know they drew against Offaly, and the outside it looks a bad result for them, but they were down to 13 men. So, it was always going to be difficult for Wexford to get a point out of that game. So you have to maybe cut them a bit of slack over that. Look, Clare, I've said it from the start, they're going to take the league seriously. They need a national trophy on the board, and I think they're well, of course, to do that this campaign. So I'm going to go for a Clare win in this game. But Wexford to show a good bit of fight in this game too.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. It won't be easy. It certainly won't be what it was last year, where Wexford didn't even turn up and Clare absolutely annihilated them. It won't be like that. Clare, I think, will win, but Wexford will put up a good fight anyway. So to refresh before we move on to 1B, that would mean that 1A would have Clare sitting pretty 3 wins from 3 on 6 points. Kilkenny then on 5 points. Cork joining Waterford and Wexford on 2 points. And then Offaly would be bottom of the table on 1 point. And then we refresh on 1B there as well before we head into the fixtures that they have. Now, there's 2 games here 3 games, I think, across the board that are fairly straightforward to call. Division 1B's round 3 doesn't have any games that I think are genuine 50-50s. Tipperary against Westmeath, and Antrim against Galway, and Dublin against Limerick. I think there's an obvious favourite in all 3 of those games. We'll start with Tipperary versus Westmeath. Matthew, this game is a game that Tipperary should win handsomely.
Yeah, Tipperary could put out their B team and win this game. Simple as. I think Tipperary are in a very good state at the moment. Gerald O'Connor performing well at the moment. And I think Tip should have enough to beat Westmeath by about 15 or over points, I'd say.
Yeah, I think, look, Westmeath showed a hell of a lot of fight against Limerick. Joe Fortune's a cracking manager. And the game really was only finished off for Limerick when Donegal Dála got the goal in the 64th minute. But I still think Tipperary are definitely going to win this game. Luke, I would assume you think the same.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like that's the thing, like Matthew said, they put the B team, they will put out the B team, they'll win it. So yeah, no, look, you can't read anything into these games. Like that's the thing. It's like you're seeing like Westmeath away from home aren't competitive in Division 1. Like they were really, really good against Limerick then, but like when they bring things down to Cusack Park, they can really put it up. But like the gap is just too far for them when they have to go and play away. And it'll be a similar pattern to the Galway game that they played away already in the league, where they'll be competitive in the first half and then I'd say 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. We have a comment in here from Denise about the Clare game. She says Clare win. So that's 4 votes from 4 for Clare to win against Wexford as well. Moving back to 1B then, we'll go to Antrim against Galway. Sunday at 1 p.m. in Corrigan Park. Look, Corrigan Park is a dangerous place to go. Like Dublin found that out last week. I mean, it needed a Sean Gallagher goal right at the end of the game to save Dublin. Galway can have their dodgy performances, but Luke, I'll go to you first. Surely they win this one.
Yeah, do you know this one actually maybe is the one that might be a little bit closer, just because of the Corrigan Park factor. I think the improvement that Antrim had from the Limerick game week 1 to the Dublin game, obviously, like a huge gap in kind of in caliber of opposition, of course, but like a lot more fight up there as well. I think Galway actually, but I think Galway will be fine. Galway beat teams that they're expected to beat. They always do find a way. Galway just struggle more against teams that are at their own kind of level that they seem to struggle against more. So, but Galway will find a way. But I think Antrim can kind of take a lot more from it. And like just to briefly touch on Galway, like a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, Tip beat well." I'd be more positive about Galway though, because that's a Tip side that are probably trained at a level higher than probably everybody else in the country now. So the fact that they lived with them right up to that penalty in the last minute, I think Galway will be quite satisfied with that performance, while blooding a few new players. So decent enough signs for Galway. I think they'll win it by maybe coming up to 10.
Yeah, no, and the one thing is, I'll point this out. Gerard O'Connor, he did it again against Galway. He has this habit. He did it against Dublin and Parnell Park as well. No matter where the free is, he has this habit of absolutely belting the ball out of the stadium. No matter where it is, he must be an absolute nightmare for the for the financial people in the team. Oh, there's another sliotar gone. We need another new sliotar. Because he had one on the 21-yard line against Galway, and he hit it out of Semple Stadium. Like, it's just like, what on earth was the point of that? And that's one thing in Semple Stadium, but in Parnell Park, you're in the middle of a housing estate, and the amount of sliotars that went flying out of the stadium. But that's by the by. He is a phenomenal free taker. He's an absolutely brilliant free taker. And the size of him as well, he's an absolutely huge bloke. He made Ronan Marr look small when he was standing next to him in the post-match interview. But Matthew, are you agreeing with what me and Luke have said about the Galway Antrim game? Would you say Galway will take this one?
Yeah, I think Galway will take it in the end. Yeah, they've good young players there. Conor Whelan's still doing well up in the forwards, like Evan Nyland. Like they do have very good players, and good players for the Fitzgibbon Cup to come as well. Like Colin Malloy did very well for University of Galway. You have Niall Collins there as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they get integrated into the team for the game against Antrim. I think it will be tight, as Luke mentioned, with the Corrigan Park factor. I think Galway will do enough though to get over the line. And one thing I will add on Gerard O'Connor, I wonder how much he has to pay for broken windows.
I swear to God, genuinely, if you don't believe me, go to the last few minutes of the Tipperary Galway game. He gets a free on the 21-yard line. He belts it out of the stadium. Like, and you're just like, why? Why did you do that? You just didn't need to do that. But yeah, I mean, it must be a delight for the kids that kind of hang around behind the goal. Like, if they ever want the sliotar, just hover around when Garrod is taking the free. But or go into the next field behind the stadium. He's probably better off going in there. But yeah, final game before we wrap it up is Dublin against Limerick. Saturday at 5:15. This one is in Croke Park. I'll be at this game watching intently. It's a massive test for Dublin, and like whatever gods, thank the Lord, have kept us away from Limerick in the hurling championship. We haven't had to face them yet, Luke. We haven't had to face their wrath. We do have to face it this Saturday. How do you see us getting on?
A little bit worried. Yeah, I think the scary part is that Dublin, the injury list is huge too. Like as far as I've heard, Owen O'Donnell won't be fit. Donald Burke definitely won't be fit, and there's quite a few other lads like Ronan Hayes, carrying Knox, and it's just there's a lot of key players that would be needed. They just won't be available at the weekend. And even with all them, you still probably wouldn't fancy it, and without them, you definitely don't fancy it. I think maybe on a positive note, I'd say we'll see Chris Crummey for the first time in a year and a bit now. He's back been playing. He played a challenge game last weekend, so he'll either start or he'll get a bit of game time. But I think also look, Limerick have had the week off. I'd say that they've used the week off to get a few more of their established fellas back in. We haven't seen yet this year. We haven't seen Declan Hannon, we haven't seen Aaron Gallan, we haven't seen Will O'Donoghue, we haven't seen Keane Lynch, we haven't seen Peter Casey, we haven't seen Mike Casey. All of these players, I'd expect a few more of them will start to show back up as well. And yeah, they probably won't be fully there yet, but in the 2 weeks, I'd say their hurling has come on a lot. As far as I know, they used the first 2 fixtures because they knew they expect to win them as heavy training blocks. And I'd say they've probably been working on their hurling a little bit more now. It's in a wide open Croke Park pitch where the Dublin defence, in the first 2 games, has looked incredibly slow, very, very slow. They're good defenders, but they've no pace whatsoever. So on a wide open Croke Park, I do fear a little bit. I'm going to Limerick by 10.
Wow. Yeah, no, I am a little bit nervous as well because it's a chance for Limerick to hurl in Croke Park. Players like Adam English, I think, could shoot the lights out in this game. Look, I do think Limerick will win. I think if Dublin can put up a good fight and, show that we can compete with Limerick in any way, I think it's good, hopeful progress to be made. But Dublin have already been on the wrong end of some bad beatings already this year. We lost to Tipperary pretty ugly in the first game, and then we got annihilated by Galway in the Walsh Cup semi-final. So it is something that put in a good display, especially in Croke Park. This is a big opportunity to get Dublin football fans that might not be 100% interested in the hurling. It's a big opportunity to get them to express more interest in the hurling. It's a big chance for Dublin, so definitely put it up to Limerick. It's the All-Ireland champions. If we can put it up to them, we can capture the attention of some, fans that have probably stepped away since the glory days of 2013, where we won the Leinster Championship and went all the way to the semi-finals. I'm assuming you agree Limerick will win this one.
Yeah, I'd agree. Limerick will go on and win this by quite a comfortable margin, as well as that Dublin lost to Clare quite handsomely in the quarterfinal last year. It was not really a game, was it? So, I'd have to fancy Limerick to go on and win the game. And as Luke mentioned, there's players to come back into the team. They're going along the motions more than anything. And the fact they play a game in Croke Park, this is their first real game, and it's in Croke Park, I think they'll relish that opportunity to spank a few home against Dublin. And what's the odds on Limerick scoring more than 5 goals this weekend? Because I think there could be quite a few.
Wow. I hope it's not that bad. I really, really hope it's not that bad. Luke's unmuted. He has something to say.
Donegal O'Donnell goals this weekend. I think Donegal O'Donnell might score 2 goals this weekend. I think his form is unbelievable. It's kind of funny looking at it. You look at the Fitzgibbon last week. He was named on the UL panel. There was supposedly falling out with the UL management, and he looks like the form corner forward in the country at the moment. So, UL losing to Fitzgibbon by a point last week, pretty costly fallout to have anyway. But I think, he'll be a fella that could cause Dublin huge problems at the weekend.
Yeah, I think he will, to be fair. Anyway, before I do wrap it up, again, I'll give a massive shout out to Denise and to Evelyn. I will be doing the Camogie preview for the weekend's league action on Cluiche tomorrow, so make sure you tune into that one. And the LGFA Division 4 has their round 6 as well. Leitrim and Fermanagh continue to look like the 2 that are going up. Again, that will be previewed on those episodes tomorrow as well. But we've stuck with the hurling and we've stuck with the Gaelic football for this episode, and we're at 1 hour and 45 minutes. So imagine if we had another 2 codes to go. Anyway, guys, before we do wrap it up, I will be on Matthew Hurley's show, the Gaelic Statsman. Yeah, but no, okay, never mind. But Anyway, guys, until that next episode does come on Unclear, that's a mistake by me. Until that next episode does come, take care.